Campus Lore Live, where NBA players talk college hoops. I'm George Niang of the Utah Jazz. This is Monte Morris of the Denver Nuggets. And here we are, episode 3. Can't wait to talk to you guys about our past experiences in college. I've played against a lot of good players in college. But Monte, who is the player that you played against in college that sticks out the most to you?
I would easily have to say Shabazz Napier. My freshman year, you was hurt your sophomore year during that time in the tournament. But I think that UConn game, my freshman year against Shabazz, opened my eyes to like, man, it's a real deal, and it's separation from a regular player in a AP first team All American. That game showed me like I had so much more to learn and get better at, as a basketball player. And, you wasn't as good as you really thought you was because, he made it look so effortless, so easy. He was running this team, getting buckets, talking crazy trash. And that just made me be better, come back better my sophomore year because I seen where the tip of the top crop was.
And let's not forget, I mean, you were a starter on a team that
Hmm.
won a Big 12 tournament championship. We were undefeated, 14-0 in the Big 12 before we hit the Big 12 conference play. And we were on a really good team, and UConn was a 7th seed. So,
Yeah.
to put things into perspective for people, Shabazz Napier, I was lucky enough to play AAU with him. He's from the Boston area. And, I had told you before the game, hey, this dude, is the real deal, this,
Yeah.
that, and the other. And
Yeah.
it was funny. We go back to the scouting report, Coach Cornell Mann. I remember him saying, he's like, in his right hand, he's a misdemeanor. In his left hand, he's a killer.
Killer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that just goes back and to show you, I mean, Shabazz Napier had his team as a 7th seed and ended up winning a national championship. I mean, that just tells you how great of a player that he was, that he could uplift his team from just being subpar and mediocre. Let's not take it for granted. They had Ryan Boatwright, they had DeAndre Daniels, they had
Hmm.
Niles
Prince
Giffey. They had,
Yeah.
yeah, they had some players, but oh, you're all right about Shabazz Napier. I didn't even think about that one. He's really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say mine definitely would have to be uh, Joel Embiid. My goodness, I was a
Yeah.
sophomore. You were a freshman, and that's when they had me playing the center. Right, I was the overweight.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Able to move on the wing and play center. And guarding him was just so hard because mostly guys of like his stature in college like aren't really developed and are skinny, and you could push them around. And I was older, so I thought you could talk some trash, but Joel was skilled. He had a mean streak to him. He was strong. I remember playing him at home, and he
Hmm.
had those big goggles on. He
Yeah.
just looked like a wild card, and just his overall skill, man. He could pass the ball. We double team. He'd spin off, get dunks, and it was just like deflating because on
Yeah.
the other end, in college, I wasn't really known as a defender, so I'd try to go score, and it was like I couldn't even see the rim. I was just tossing it up, and it was tough on me,
Yeah.
Monte. It was tough. Joel Embiid was definitely
He is
def-
definitely a problem.
yeah. Why do you think Shabazz has gone from team to team, in the NBA and not really, stuck in one place?
I think honestly, the NBA is all opportunity. And he was a guy who got the keys through to him. I think Kevin Ollie was like, "Look, you are a senior leader. Everybody trusts you. We riding with you." And he had the ultimate green light, and everybody respected him and trusted him. So he was able to showcase everything he had. And I think once you got to the NBA, he's playing backup point. So a lot of the stuff, he maybe could be hesitant at times. He's confident in his game, but certain teams want certain different things from different players. And I think some teams let him rock, and some teams want him to come be a setup guy. But you got to know what you get with him. I think he's a strictly bucket getter, who's developed into a better passer than he was in college. But he's a scorer. He's someone that can ignite your team right away. And I think he's still trying to find that team that can let him get back to, them ways,
Joel Embiid was an all-star. Shabazz Napier is still fighting, to get job after job. Tremendous player, amazing talent.
Yeah,
But I mean, doesn't that speak volumes to being a point guard in the NBA is so tough.
it's tough.
There's so many things
So tough.
that you have to so many things that you have to figure out and be able to lead and be able to focus on. Whereas a center, you really only have to focus on yourself and, really do a lot of different things. I'm not taking anything away from Joel Embiid, but as being a backup point guard in the NBA, starting a multitude, of games, in your NBA career, how hard is it to be an NBA point guard
Yeah.
at this day and age?
It's real tough. I mean, you got guys who want their shots, and most of the time you're a backup. You coming in with your second unit, so you can rock. You know where you getting your shots from. You get implemented to the fire, and now you guarding Eric Bledsoe the next night. Now you playing, those starters in the league, and your center, Nicola want that ball the same way Jamal will get it to him. Gary need his shots. Millsap want his touches. So if I'm not making them happy, shit, they not happy, with me, and it's a downfall. And then, it could be talk like, man, he don't get me in my spots right. I need the ball. So I think that's why it's so tough. I feel like it's hard for guys to put that side away and find their other side to stay in the game and stay on that team and make that rotation. It's all about sacrificing. I think it's hard for guys to do.
Yeah, and another thing, talking about the NBA, I'm going to get a little off topic here, but you really have to have a good pulse and sense of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Superstars want to play with guys that can get them the ball, and then they can be reliable enough when they throw you the ball, you can go get a bucket, and score. Nobody wants to play with someone that is only concerned about themselves, unless you're a superstar,
Right.
where all bets are off, where you're just that talented that you can break off plays and go get a
Yeah.
bucket. Obviously, Shabazz Napier is sticking in the league because he's very talented. He can score the ball, he
Mm-hmm.
can pass the ball. Those shifty point guards seem to get away with doing a lot of that. Whether it's not being
Yeah.
a pass first, but being able to score. Joel Embiid, is kind of destined for greatness. You know what I mean? He didn't play his first 2 years, came in, was dominant, and it's tough to find a big man with that much skill. So there you have it. I mean, Shabazz Napier, great pro. Joel Embiid probably doesn't
Yeah.
have to use too much of the mental aspect of the game because the ball is coming through him every time, where Shabazz,
Yeah.
kind of has to focus on who do I have to get the ball. It's not all about me. When we come back, I can't wait to dive into our recruiting process, Monte. We are both 4-year, guys, 4-star recruits. And I can't wait to talk when we get back about our recruiting process. In the basketball business, the recruiting process is slimy. It's grimy.
Yeah.
You have your good guys that are doing things all the right way, and you have other guys
Yeah.
that are just trying to get a player, whether they have to pay someone or anything like that. And it's just a mix of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a 4-star recruit till later in my high school years. To be honest with you, going into my junior year, I don't even think I had a scholarship offer. I think my first scholarship offer was Florida Atlantic, Mike Jarvis down at Florida Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great feeling. But at the end of the day, I committed to Iowa State right before the AAU circuit my last year. And just simply because, Fred Hoiberg, when he recruited me, he was my first high major offer. He called me and told me, "Hey, you're my plan A. I don't want to have a plan B."
Mm-hmm.
And didn't promise me anything. Didn't promise me minutes. Didn't say I was going to change the playbook for you. He said, "You're going to come in there and have to earn, everything you get." And that's what I like the most is honesty, man. When you think about
Mm-hmm.
your recruiting process, Monte, don't you think about like getting back and just having someone that you could trust in the next 4 years of your life that is going to put you in a position to be successful? I don't want to be told lies. I don't
Yeah.
want to be manipulated into coming into school. Just Tell me the God's honest truth.
Coach Fred and Coach Corn, I think they were a big part of my decision to go to Iowa State and join you and that 2012 class. I think just the honesty, they always would fly up to Michigan and watch me play. They seen me come play the worst team in our conference. Like the score was like 70 to like 18, bro, the final score. And I'm like, man, that's dope because they already know what type of player I am. They don't need to see me against all this like the best teams in the state, things like that. That just showed me like, they come to see a blowout is more than me as a basketball player. They wanted to be around my family. They wanted to talk to me and learn more about me, as a kid that was coming to the university. So I think at the time, I think Iowa State started recruiting me when I was a freshman. Um, and I will always put the mail to side. I'm like, man, I ain't going to no damn Iowa for college. Like, I ain't going to Ames. Um, so I want to stay in state, be Michigan or Michigan State guy. Um, but Iowa State always stuck around, bro. Like they were always first at my AAU games. I would see, Hoiberg and Korn sitting first before the coaches, either come in for the AAU circuit. So I'm like, man, let me take a look. So I came down on a visit. You probably remember Sharon was my host and things like that. And we played pickup, and you were killing, man. I'm like, man, this is gonna be who I'm gonna be playing with if I come here. And we had a good recruiting class come in. We was recruiting Matt Thomas, who came in with me. We had Sharon, Nash. Percy was already there, so it was guys already had known. So I think it felt home for me from the jump.
Hey, remember you? I think you came on a visit right when we first got on campus, and the
Yeah.
equipment room was slightly open, and we went in there and like took like a bunch of gear, and then you had your little flip phone, and you were you put the flip phone in the corner and held it up, and you're like, I can't wait to show everybody back home I'm dunking on these college rims.
I said, yo, take a picture of me hanging on the college rail, bro. That was so funny, bro.
I'm sure it was tough for you because you're taking a big risk going to Iowa State. If hopefully this works out, and if it doesn't,
For
I
sure.
passed up on school for big time right in my backyard.
For sure. I only had probably 5 Big 10 offers, if I can remember. It was Illinois, Michigan, Northwestern, Purdue, and I want to say, who was the other one? Not Ohio State. They showed interest, but it was one more that I probably can't remember because I really wasn't giving them no interest. But my big toughest thing, I want to stay at home. I want to stay in Michigan. And so, me and Derek Walton played on the same AU team, and we both was liking Michigan. So they would come recruit us at the same time, basically at the same situation, same game, and things like that. So crazy story. June 15th, 2011. I was gonna call down. I had my fam all in the living room. I'm like, yo, I'm about to call Michigan. I'm about to commit. We gonna be done. It was my sophomore year. I called them. They don't answer. This they don't answer. It's third time. Boom. They called back probably like 20 minutes later. It's like, yeah, what's up, Monte, man? Yeah, man, sad news, man. Derek Walton just committed. He just committed like 19 minutes ago while I was trying to call. And I was like, yeah, man, you guys are a great backcourt. We would love to have both of you if we could. But Derek's been like a 99 this year, man. You've been like a 98. So we had like a coaches vote. We had a coaches vote, and it was like 4-3, and everybody 4 wanted one, 3 wanted me. So I'm like, I took it on the chin. I'm 15 years old at the time, so I'm like, wow, like it showed me the game was ruthless. I had my whole fam in the living room, and they were hurt, and they was more hurt for me because it's like, man, don't let this hurt your pride. You still got other offers out there and things like that, but that's a story, I would never forget. So that's why I always had a chip on my shoulder, and I always wanted to play Michigan or Michigan State for overlooking me and just tear their ass up every time.
Oh, that's so funny
Yeah,
because literally your
yeah.
freshman year, we had Michigan on the schedule, and
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
remember being out on the court, and I didn't even know that story. Like, I mean, I heard some stuff
Yeah.
about, but I didn't know it was that gruesome. And then you were like,
Yeah.
I'm like, Monte, who you got? You like, I got this weak ass dude right here. Oh man. And the crazy part is he
Yeah.
came off a ball screen and hit a bank three. And I remember you were
Bank
so
three.
mad. You wanted to
Bro, I was so
kill him. But
bad.
the funny part is we ended up beating Michigan, and that was on a Sunday, and that was such a great feeling, man. Just that,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what kind of trendsetted us, into being a top 25 team for the rest of the time that we were at Iowa State. And I'm
Yeah.
sure your story had a lot to do with that. That is crazy, man. I don't know. I'm sure there's some ruthless recruiting stories out there, but that one has to be the top of the top, man. That's unreal. What people have to realize, it is a grind. If you look at the history of the NBA, I don't know the percentage or the numbers, but not too many picks make it in the early second round. We were one of the last 10
Late.
picks. Yeah, and
Yep.
I think it's just a tribute to like the hard work and dedication that we put into the game. I know you were looking for motivation. Like, there's no way there's 50 players that are better than me. And in my eyes, once I got cut from the NBA after I was drafted 50th, because I kind of made draft night like my career, like the highlight of my career. I was like, I got
Yeah.
drafted. I'm good. I'm in
Uh-huh.
Indiana. All my boys are in college. I'm making all this money. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then I had to slow down and realize and be like, no, like I need to better myself every day. And I think that's something that you did, and you worked every
Yeah.
day at it. And now, as a point guard, how do you stay so even keeled with that much pressure
Mhm.
building up on you? Like, nothing's guaranteed. Like, your contract wasn't guaranteed. Your playing
Yeah.
time isn't guaranteed.
Uh-huh.
They signed
Right.
Isaiah Thomas basically to come in and
Yeah.
take your spot. He was injured, and you
Facts.
basically said, "This is my spot, and I'm not moving."
Yeah, I think I stay even kill. Even like before I play, I promise myself, and I call my mom a lot, and just be like, just when I'm stressed and when I feel like anxiety, like man, this shit's building up. Like I don't know how I'm gonna handle it. She always just say, you got to take the good with the bad. And she was like, this was last year, going into the first year I actually played in the NBA. She just always told me, it's 82 games. You ain't gonna be perfect all 82. You're gonna miss shots. You're gonna come out the games. It's gonna be games you don't play, but it's gonna be everything I'm saying now on the negative side. You're gonna have six positives where it's gonna be a week or two where you playing your ass off, and then it's gonna be some nights where you ain't got it. But just don't never forget why you started. Don't ever forget who you're doing it for, and don't ever forget who you are as a player and a person. I've always had a point to prove, and I just want to prove to myself that I can get my second contract. I think they say once you get the second one, that's when you like establish and you got a respect from everyone. So if I'm able to do that, it just shows the dedication and the hard work and things like that.
When you think about it, Monte, you really you really showed growth, in the G League and in the
Hmm.
how do I say this? In your couple games that you played with the Nuggets. But like
Yeah.
that's the thing about being a second round pick. They don't care. If you're not the first round pick,
Hmm.
we're gonna see if we can get
Yeah.
someone else that's better than you, that they can
Hmm.
revamp their
For
roster
sure.
with Isaiah Thomas. But that's why every day you need to come in and do what you have to do. And I think it's so funny that you brought up that story with your mom, because Al Jefferson, when I
Hmm.
was with the Pacers and I was discouraged about not playing, he was like, "Come over here, young
Yeah.
fella." He was like, "There's 82 games. You know the best thing about the NBA is we got another game tomorrow. You can make it up tomorrow. This ain't
Yeah.
college. You can make it up tomorrow." So I think
Uh,
what you said about having 3 bad moments and then 6 great moments and then having a great attitude is really true. Like, even now when I get out there
yeah.
and I'll stink, miss a couple of shots, I'll be like, you know what? I just got to wait for my next opportunity and work to crush my next opportunity. What do you think about the Nicole Anthony's of the world? I know He came on
Hmm.
strong after he was injured. Maybe the worst UNC team uh,
Yeah.
in a long, long time. 14 and 19. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think about him? Because we've talked about it before, where guys literally are projected to be these high lottery picks, but can't even get their college teams to win.
Yeah. I like talking about point guards because I'm a point guard, so it's easy for me to nitpick and see what a guy does really well because I played that position. I think he's a heck of a talent, heck of an athlete. But I look at this, 18 points per game, taking 15 field goals attempts per game to get 18, shooting 38% from the field. That's tough. 38% from the field is not a great number. And when you're a point guard, you got to be able to make that in between shot.
No big
Yeah.
superstar is going to let some rookie come in and just shoot those type of shots. So there's going to be a learning curve, where he has to know, hey, I can't. Can I get this shot later in the shot clock? Or, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Is this the best shot that my team's going to get down the floor? And he's going to have to think about that every time
Every
down, where
time.
clearly,
Yeah.
with UNC, he wasn't thinking that. The team was 14 and 19. He shot 38%. My guy in the draft,
Hmm.
though, I'm big on Obi Toppin, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, goes to an A10 school, you know, puts up numbers, and his team was 18 and 0 in the Atlantic 10. You can say what you want,
Man.
mid-major conference. They only have a couple of teams, but he went in there and dominated and impacted winning. I mean, he averaged 14
Yeah.
points as a freshman. He averaged 20 points as a sophomore, 7.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists. My only knock on him is to be that big and athletic, and you only block, one shot a game. Blocking shots is one thing in the NBA, and he's a powerful scorer. But where does he fit, and what do you think his niche could be?
I think he's a live threat, and when you're a live threat in the league, it's really tough to contain, especially if you got shooting around you. I think he can make a crazy impact right away with that. I think he's one of the bigs who remind me of Jamil his junior year, where I see a lot of his highlights. He's just beating everybody down the court and catching fast break transition dunks. Like you can't teach that. It's not too many bigs that's outrunning the defense and getting in transition. I think that's a crazy thing. But I think going forward in the league is just working on his positioning, um, just like being in the right place to even just deflect a shot. You don't got to get a block. They say if a guard can't get the ball on the rim, you did your job as a big. Our guards we're taught just get it on the rim and let the bigs put it in. I think he can just work on that, and also, he fouls a little bit. Where I think that can get him in trouble at times.
I love how aggressive
Yeah.
he is, and you know how they call
Hmm.
fouls in college.
Yeah.
Ticky tack. Hopefully,
Yeah.
he can get away with being as aggressive as he was in college in the NBA. And
Yeah. Hmm.
note to you bigs out there entering the draft: if you run the floor and play hard, you will get paid. Dominating both glasses, and literally just be aggressive out there. Every team wants to play with
Hmm.
someone that is a force running up and down the floor, making the other team's big tired, and literally playing aggressive and not getting punked. So, I mean, that's my
Yeah.
advice for big.
For
Do
sure.
you have any advice for point guards before we wrap it all up?
I think when you first come in, be a great teammate, listen to your vets, be a great locker room guy, be able to knock down an open shot, and always just know that when adversity hit, try to answer it, and it can't rain forever.
Thank you all for joining us on Campus Lore Live, where NBA players talk college hoops. I'm George Niang. This is Monte Morris, and we're closing out episode 3. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.